definitely going to address that question after I address the Gvozdyk Beterbiev card, which chef's kiss, amazing, so good. And I was wrong. I was deeply wrong on this fight. Not deeply wrong on it, but I was definitely wrong in how sure I was of my pick. I'll be honest. I was really positively sure of myself that Gvozdyk was the better boxer, that he had enough power to hurt Beterbiev, who we've seen get hurt, even though he has great recovery ability. And Beterbiev is a little bit of a one-trick pony. If you can take away that one trick, maybe his game unravels. And honestly, I mean, there's obviously parts of the fight, and I'm obviously going to address it way more tomorrow with the full panel, Rob, Gary, Fu. But this is just my reactions, my thoughts, only my opinions about the fight. I felt like Gvozdyk at times showed the right tactics to have against a guy like Beterbiev. Moving laterally, and you have to throw combinations while you're moving laterally. And on top of that, the second you sort of pick an angle and get off that angle, and you throw in a combination, and you go in the right or left, then you have to move forward. Every time Gvozdyk would throw a jab, move off to the side, throw a combination, and then advance and push Beterbiev back, Beterbiev had a hard time spinning and then adjusting to that pressure. If Beterbiev just had to adjust to the spin and then Gvozdyk was still retreating, Beterbiev actually, to his credit, was able to spin with him and charge after him quite efficiently after like round 2 or 3, right? And, I mean, that to me was shocking, how quickly Beterbiev was able to adjust to the lateral movement of Gvozdyk. On top of that, the body work of both guys I thought was fantastic, was the right game plan to have. Gvozdyk with the really nice right hand under the guard of Beterbiev. I thought that was a beautiful shot. He was going to time and time again. He just couldn't have an effect on Beterbiev that I think that he was looking for. Beterbiev, to his credit, was landing that right hand from mid-range to the solar plex and to the mid-range, as Andre Ward was pointing out on the telecast, and it was highly, highly effective. And clearly there was a significant power disparity. Every time Beterbiev was clubbing him with shots, you could see the effect. You can see the will sort of drain from Gvozdyk with each flurry, each sort of tie-up with Beterbiev, who was clearly the stronger guy as well. I was just blown away by Beterbiev's overall effectiveness here, because at times I felt like he has been ineffective with his style. But with this one, I thought he was largely effective. He knew that it was a long game and that he was looking for the finish. He wasn't looking for a points decision. Obviously, I think Gvozdyk, due to his style, his volume, he was able to accumulate rounds early on. And that I'm so glad they put instant replay in for this commission. Pennsylvania, I think it's Pennsylvania Commission. Yes, it is. Because that knockdown in the first round was atrocious. And thank God they reversed that. However, clearly, Beterbiev's boxing ability was far better than I think we all previously thought. I think his ability to sort of block and parry shots was better than previously thought. Again, the lateral movement, or at least the adjustment to lateral movement, was just far better than I think any of us could ever think, right? I don't think any of us went into that fight going, Beterbiev has the boxing ability to beat Gvozdyk. It was more of that, maybe he's the aggressor, the power. But, yeah, he had that. But honestly, if he didn't really adjust tactically to Gvozdyk and his lateral movement from a pure boxing technique perspective, not just bull rush through it perspective, there's no way he would have won this fight. There's no way he could have really crossed that distance and that range threshold and get on the inside of Gvozdyk as well as he did. And then again, like I said, I think the overall defensive ability of Beterbiev was fairly and largely underrated. I want to sort of point out some things in the chat because I haven't really been reading. I've been talking. Jonathan Vickland. I'm gonna say I don't think it's true, but I love the tie-in here saying you could clearly see Beterbiev's training with George St. Pierre paid off in round one. I like that. I like that. Like that's true. I mean, I get your point, but yeah, that's true. What else? Rob in the chat saying new train driver Matt. Yeah, guys, I'm on the hype train now. Beterbiev beats Bivol, like without a doubt. He's clearly the number one guy at light heavyweight, and it goes without saying. What else? Gus Sandoval. Shout out to Gus. Gus, longtime listener and supporter, saying most everyone picked Gvozdyk, including myself. Beterbiev box better than I expected. What else? Let me see. Sort of talking about the ability to sort of hit or hurt, I should say, Beterbiev. Kama in the chat saying, I think Callum Johnson is just a very hard hitter. You're probably right about that. Saying, I think we can all agree Johnson is no boxer compared to Gvozdyk, but in pure punching power, it looked like Johnson probably hits harder pound for pound, so to speak. Gus also saying Beterbiev showed new wrinkles to his game. Absolutely agree. Notorious JP saying AB's jab took over also. I don't know if it's... Obviously, from a strategic standpoint, yes, the jab for Beterbiev started having an effect down the line in the fight. Tactically, as in, how did he do that? I need to probably watch it back. I'll be honest, I've watched this fight 3 times this morning. I didn't watch it last night. I was out last night at the movies. Sorry, guys. I made plans without realizing the fights were on Friday. These things happen. But I watched it 3 times this morning, and I mean, every time I watch it, there's new things I see from both guys. I mean, again, I know a lot of the praise is going to be heaped on Beterbiev, obviously speaking, but Gvozdyk, I think, did quite well in his own right. I think he did everything we wanted him to do, except, again, I think, stitching back to my very first point about this fight, the way to beat Beterbiev seems, because Gvozdyk did it at times, was when you move laterally and throw combination as you move laterally, the second you get to that off angle of your opponent, you need to press him, especially Beterbiev, obviously, because Beterbiev is going to be turning so quickly with you that if you're just spinning out and you're just sort of retreating or just staying at the status quo distance, Beterbiev's with you. So you're not, as the fight wears on, Gvozdyk wasn't getting an off angle of Beterbiev and landing that right hand to the body anymore because Beterbiev was turning with him each and every time. And the way to sort of adjust to that, if you're the guy moving laterally, is when you move laterally, also take an instep. Move in. But the problem is that Gvozdyk didn't want to move in with Beterbiev and press him. He didn't feel comfortable there, obviously speaking. But the way to honestly beat Beterbiev is to get him moving backwards. It has to be, because he is one of the best pressure fighters in boxing, right? I mean, maybe that's a conversation for a different time. And, co-host that listening, Gary, Rob, Fu, for tomorrow's show, maybe be thinking about this. Who are the best pressure fighters right now in boxing? Beterbiev has to be high up there. I mean, it's him and Sean Porter, right, guys? As some of the best pressure boxers or best pressure fighters in all of boxing. And I don't know if even a guy like Bivol is going to be able to keep that pressure at bay. On top of that, get Beterbiev going backwards, because that's not really Bivol's game, in my honest opinion. Quickly, I'm going to move on to some of the rest of the fights on this card and then take whatever questions and topics in the chat. Maybe take some calls. And guys that are calling in, if you want to call in now and just talk about this fight, you can do so. If you want, stay on the line, and I'll get to you for other topics. That's completely fine as well. So I think that's JP, Santiago. I think I see you two there. Don't worry if you guys want to come on and talk about the Lewis Ritson fight or Conor McGregor's alleged rape charge, the second alleged rape charge in Ireland, which we're going to get to. And obviously the UFC Boston card. You can always jump in and out, and it won't be an issue. Because I'm solo dolo. I don't care. It's Saturday. There's no real fights on tonight. It's just this, guys. Get hyped. But Luis Collazo losing against Kuzatilo Abakadorov. this was a fun fight. I mean, similar vein to, I think, a lot of the fights this weekend. Like, good inside work from both guys. Collazo, though, just clearly older, clearly slower to the draw, and that affected him down the stretch. I think he was hoping that his power was going to take over, which at times, especially in the mid-fight, it looked like it was going to do. But Abkadorov just kind of just weathered the storm and kept outboxing him and winning rounds and won a decision. Or technical decision, because obviously there was the cuts at the end. But, I mean, even without the cuts, he was on his way to a point decision just because he was outboxing Collazo. Collazo, sort of connecting to Beterbiev, was not adjusting to the lateral movement at all of Abkadorov. So I'm curious as, is this really the sign that the end is coming of Collazo's career? Is he now over the hill fully? Because his last fight, he didn't look this slow, in my opinion. And Abkadorov, a guy that young, undefeated, not the best amateur pedigree, but a good amateur pedigree. Undefeated, obviously, resume. Beats Collazo, sort of weathers the storm. Is he going to be now the IBF Mantor? Is he going to be now in line to fight Earl Spence? And is he going to fight Earl Spence in the next year or so? It's a possibility. And maybe this is Top Rank's gamble in a weird way to try to get the IBF and now WBC belt on their side. I don't know. Weird situation here with maybe the networks and the future fight for Abkadorov because of the IBF eliminator status of this fight. But I thought he looked good against a faded but clearly still talented top 15, top 20 welterweight in Luis Collazo. Moving on, just mentioning briefly some of these undercard fights. Josue Vargas beating Johnny Rodriguez. He looked good, but I expected a little bit more, to be honest, but he dominated. I just expect a little more power from Josue Vargas at this point in time. Expect him to sort of grow into some power. Doesn't seem to be at this point in time. Michael Seals, though, picking up a nice win. Obviously not going to be, a future champion, but that was a great left hook knockout. Joseph Adorno picked up a good TKO win against Damian Sosa. Julian Rodriguez looked really good as well against Leonardo Dorino, though Dorino is like 17-16-3. That means almost nothing to me. It means nothing to me. Jem Rodorno picked up a win as well, and Sonny Kanto picked up a win as well on the top-ranked card. Let me see. Questions and topics in the chat. Guys, just for you know, I may take some calls. Write in all caps. If you want me to address your point, your question, your topic, whatever, write in all caps in the live chat. Question, topic, whatever it is, right? Sort of to give me some category here. And then in regular caps, write out your question topic right after it, please. It makes it really easy for me to see it out of all of the great comments in the live chat. I'm going to go take some calls really briefly because I want to get some other guys' opinions about the Beterbiev Gvozdyk fight. Going out to Santiago in LA. Santiago, what were your thoughts on the main event of last night's top-ranked card?
Well, outside of a very lackluster preliminary card where a lot of the guys looked like guys we could have probably taken on, the main card itself was pretty good. And you know what? Just like you, dude, God, I was so wrong about everything I said regarding this fight with both men. All of my points were completely in reverse when you really look at it in hindsight, because as I was watching the fight and as I was re-listening to the show last night as the fight was coming on, I was listening to your points about the fact that Beterbiev was a specialist in what he does, and the fact that Gvozdyk has a bit more versatility because he does a little more of everything, which is why it leads to a little bit more thought that he could have more growth. But to me, I think that might have been what did him in. That he might have been trying to do a little too much and engaged in things with Beterbiev that he shouldn't have. There were times in the fight where he was kind of laying on top of Beterbiev, and like you said, when Beterbiev did that quick turnaround, given the angle, he knows what to do. It's his specialty. He knows exactly how he needs to maneuver in that kind of position. And that really ended up becoming the tail of the fight, seeing just how well he used his style to his advantage, not the deficiencies that it is because he is a specialist. And I feel like I was still right that we have seen right now the best of Beterbiev today, but I think that his ceiling got higher. I think that because he was able to add wrinkles to his own game, we saw things in him. At least I saw things in him that I was a little bit surprised. Like there were moments in the fight where he'd have his hands like at chest level, ready to either shoot up, shoot down, or parry a punch. And the next thing you know, he like flips a shot and comes straight back with a counter. And it's that kind of wrinkle that really improves a person's fighting. What were your thoughts about like the adjustments he made to his own style in the fights?
I mean, again, I liked how you said like his ceiling is now far higher than previously thought. I think, you know, you always get this now with this sort of weight range of fighters that whoever is now like the hot guy of the week is going to be mentioned with this retired fighter, Andre Ward. But I saw a lot of comments about like Andre Ward versus Beterbiev would be a really interesting fight. And obviously, like that's not going to happen. But in a hypothetical world where we get a Andre Ward, or even like a prime Andre Ward against a highly aggressive Artur Beterbiev, a specialist, but a specialist that is improving his overall game. Oh, that's a fun fight. Absolutely a fun matchup to imagine. And to overall, like, to bring it back to the point of Beterbiev, that just shows that the opinion of him is rapidly changing. You know, we thought of him as a heavy hitter, a knockout artist, but whenever somebody is just classified as a knockout artist, that, while it's a good thing, is still putting them in a box. And I feel like Beterbiev has...
It's like being typecast, right?
Absolutely. It's being typecast. Great example, great sort of analogy. But I think it's clearly not apt anymore for Beterbiev. I think Beterbiev is a far better boxer than previously thought, and that means, you know, the idea that Bivol cannot box him, I don't know if that's a claim that people can make anymore. Volicic should have been able to box him, and even though he kind of did, it was ineffective in the long term in the fight. And I feel like in Bivol's case, that might be the same situation.
Yeah, Bivol comes off more as like a passive boxer puncher. He needs the fight to be at a pace that he's comfortable and maintain. And Beterbiev, to me, I feel like if he keeps this the way it is right now and adds to it, he could probably also stop Bivol, in my opinion, because I feel like Bivol's more of a mid-range fighter. Like, he's not going to try to engage in the inside. Like, if he does lean, he's not going to try to do anything. He might try to push him off. But I think that in that instance, you'll see Bivol inadvertently create the space that Beterbiev will need to throw his own shots. So I would definitely think that right now, Beterbiev is probably the guy, and it's because he's a specialist that he has that edge, in my opinion.
I agree. Santiago, I'm going to come back to you on later topics if you want to stick around. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Thank you, Santiago. We're going to JP in Long Beach. JP, what's up?
Oh, man, great fight last night. So, Matt, I was in several email threads with friends, you guys included, right? Mm-hmm. So I think I was the only dude in our text thread, that picked Beterbiev by stoppage. So I picked Beterbiev by stoppage for one simple reason. It's a thing called fight psychology, right? And this rule also applies to my Wilder Fury theory. There's no more, and this is just from being in regular fights, but this is just common in every man. If you know that when I hit you, it hurts a lot, and you know that you cannot hurt me, that is really scary and hard to overcome. And I believe that's what we seen last night, and that what made it an easy pick for me. Andre Ward was touching on it throughout the fight, basically alluding to this being a little brother versus big brother matchup. These guys have an existing relationship. You know, they know each other from the amateurs that came through the same program or whatever it is. And when you do stuff like that and you're working out every day together, you know who the man is. And I believe back then it was like Arthur was the man, and these guys cannot hurt him. The Gvozdyks and all the other guys who were around there, they couldn't hurt him. Arthur knew that, and it continued to this day. And I believe what you've seen in the ring is Gvozdyk, he fought, but he fought not to die on the sword in the ring. He took 3 knees. He didn't die on the sword because he didn't want to be unconscious. But he came out and fought, and you've seen Teddy Atlas trying to speak to the man's soul throughout the thing. He said, hey, he made sure he told him it wasn't a knockdown, and Teddy was saying, you're letting yourself flail. You're letting yourself. He didn't say you are. He's saying you letting yourself, which speaks to the psychology of the fighter. But Teddy was getting on my fucking nerves, man. He would not get out the ring. I mean, Teddy was in the ring to the point where, the ref was having to tell him, Teddy, you got to go. But I just think it was simple fight psychology last night, man. It was little brother versus big brother. And it's like when little brother says, we ain't little anymore. We ain't little no more. And just because he's had enough and he wants to show big bro that, it's not like it used to be. But it still is like it used to be in that case. And I'll add that to my Wilder Fury psychology. It's simply put, Wilder goes in there knowing, hey, man, every time I touch you, it's going to hurt. And it's like, what's Fury going to do? Be slicker? Maneuver more? Sure, he could, but he knows that's his only option. And it's nothing like overcoming mentally a man that just hits so much harder than you. That's scary as hell. It makes your adrenaline race, and your margin for error is really small. And I think that's what Gvozdyk had to overcome in there last night, and that's a lot of times insurmountable. The question I posed to you guys, and Joe somehow pulled some fucking crazy names out his ass. I asked, name 2 fighters who got knocked out and then came back to beat the fighter who knocked them out. You got to did pretty good. They're out there. I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah, they obviously are.
They don't come off the top.
It's not common.
Yeah,
it's not common.
Right, there's a couple out there, but I think that's a good question, man. But that's just what I think last night. I also seen like that lead right stab to the body. He knew that was just taking the life out of him. And you seen Beterbiev like bouncing around, like, I can actually, his swag was saying, I can outbox you. You already know this. That's what everything was saying about him. And so, yeah, that stab to the body, he just like, man, I'm going to beat up my little bro. He already know what it is. So, but very calculated pressure, man. Like, you rarely see a pressure fighter who can be out-slicked, and the guy could have better hand speed and all the things Gvozdyk had in his advantage, but it was so calculated, and he was able to keep his composure, even at times when Gvozdyk was getting off. So this guy's going to be hard to beat. That's my call, Matt.
Thank you, JP. Oh, quickly. Quick prediction. Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. Who wins?
Oh, I got Beterbiev. The only person I see beating Beterbiev is like if Ward comes back. If Ward comes back, man, and I think Ward was watching closely last night. We all know Ward is still training for whatever reason, staying in shape. There's something on the horizon, maybe Canelo. But I'm thinking the only guy that beats him is Ward, just because he's able to make those kind of adjustments.
Thanks for the call, JP. Let's go to co-host of the show and contributor, obviously, on the website. But he's busy with the kiddos. Going solo dolo parent as the wife's out of town. Gary in Dallas. What's up?
My wife's actually in L.A.
Oh, nice.
I was highly impressed by Beterbiev. I didn't. Everyone was saying it was a 50-50 fight. I didn't really see. I thought it was a good fight, a competitive fight. Beterbiev had a solid make it fight. I just didn't see any way which he could win. So I didn't think he was going to even be the harder hitter necessarily. And I thought Gvozdyk was another level when it came to a pure boxer. So I was like, there's no way Beterbiev can really win this fight. Boy, was I wrong. I mean, I still had Gvozdyk competitive on the scores going into the last round or so. But you could see Beterbiev was just breaking him down.
As Max Kellerman would say, the story of the fight was on Beterbiev's side.
Yeah. I think I had Beterbiev up maybe a round going into the round with all the knockdowns. But Gvozdyk was in the fight from a scoring standpoint. You know, a lot of the early rounds were close. The 8th round might have been the best round of his fight. Then the 9th round he got knocked down, and then the 10th round he got knocked out. I feel like the same way when Ramirez beat Hooker, like, wow, Ramirez is a lot better than I thought. There's a lot more to Ramirez than just a swarming guy. There's a lot more to Beterbiev than I thought there was.
Agreed.
I thought he was just going to be simply outboxed. And he was. I mean, Gvozdyk is the better boxer, and I think Bivol will be the better boxer. But, I mean, Beterbiev will just break Bivol down. I think he knocks him out quicker. I say 7 or 8 because Bivol's small. And Bivol's also a guy who likes to stay in the mid-range, and he's just not going to have the power. Because, like, look, Gvozdyk has better power than Bivol. And Gvozdyk couldn't keep Beterbiev off of him. Bivol's not going to have any chance to keep him off of him. Bivol, if he doesn't get knocked out brutally, if he doesn't get knocked out one shot, it could be a long, brutal beatdown. I don't see how Bivol... And Rob's going to call me a sellout now because I picked Bivol last week.
I cannot wait for Rob's little fucking, like, triumphal march around MCR Studios tomorrow on a Sunday show when he just gloats about he's the only one that picked it right. But here's the thing. He's going to pick Bivol. And we know it.
Yeah.
Because he's an Eddie Hearn guy. So, I mean, come on. He's got to run with that train. And we're going to pick Beterbiev, and that is still a fantastic fight. So I don't even care if he wins out in that one and Bivol wins. That's a fantastic fight. Like, this light heavyweight division is fun. I'm hyped.
I think Bivol... I'm with Rob on Bivol, right? Like, I think Bivol's really good. I just think, like, Beterbiev is too much, right? Like, you know...
This might sound weird.
Back in the 90s. It's like there's other guys with skills, but you can't stop what he does. He's just going to knock you over.
This might sound weird because it's... Obviously, I do want to see Beterbiev Bivol next. That's the fight. That's the next fight, right? But I'm now really intrigued to see how, like, a Gvozdyk Bivol goes down. Because I was so on the, Gvozdyk is clearly the most complete guy in the division. He beat Adonis Stevenson. He's the number one guy. I thought he was going to beat Beterbiev, so therefore he was just going to solidify his case. But now, I don't know where even Gvozdyk sort of ranks with the young guys of the division. I want to see him now be thrown in their Bivol too. So it's just, now all these matchups are far more interesting than previously thought in my mind.
Yeah, my opinion hasn't changed on Gvozdyk. I mean, Gvozdyk was a little sloppy at times, but I thought Gvozdyk did what he had to do. It just wasn't enough. It
just didn't work.
Didn't have anything. Yeah, it just didn't work. Like, Beterbiev is better than we all thought.
Well, let's go down that sort of that path, okay? Gvozdyk's game plan was obviously use lateral movement, use the jab, sneak in body shots, wear him down, and over rounds, I'm going to win rounds and, make this a long con, and hopefully the body work, hopefully the activity from myself wins out. Clearly that didn't work. Why was there no plan B? And if do you even think there was a plan B? I don't remember seeing one really implemented. And moving forward, how does he develop that plan B in your mind? Because he has to have one.
Well, I mean, if you can't outbox him from the mid-range or from the outside, if you can't keep him off of you, he's all yours, right? So, like, plan A would be to move laterally. Plan B would be like, what, to backpedal? That's not how Gvozdyk fights us. Now he has to change, you know what I'm saying? That's not who he is. So, you can't fight him on the inside. If you can't maintain the range in the mid-range, what else are you going to do? I mean, stylistically, you can't beat this guy. And that's why, like, when it was first over, I said, let's do a rematch. That was a great fight. Let's do it again. Then I thought about it. I said, well, what's he going to do differently? I don't know. And obviously there are better boxing minds than me who may have seen things. I don't see what he's going to do differently. Like, I thought he fought the way he was supposed to fight. It just wasn't good enough.
I largely agree.
And when JP said, when you get knocked out, you very rarely come back. The old adage is if you get knocked out the first time, you'll get knocked out the second time, only quicker. Although in that weight class, Kovalev got knocked out by Alvarez and came back and outclassed him.
True. Yeah, but I think somebody brought up Pac-Man and Kovalev. I mean, those are Hall of Famers, guys. Vodic's one of those guys where these are the sort of moments that define what he is. Does he come back and win those fights or not? But Gary, anything else? We're going to move on.
Oh, real quick. You asked if Collazo was done. I just wanted to address that real quick. The Collazo looked old to me against Samuel Vargas, except people overlooked it because it was a fun scrap where they slugged it out. But it shouldn't have been that close, right? Like, Luis Collazo shouldn't have to slug it out with Vargas. He should be able to outbox him and beat him up. So that was kind of like the first sign to me. I mean, I don't think Collazo is done, like he sucks, but I think he's done at a world-class level. Like, I think he can be what Robert Guerrero and Paulie Malignaggi was in the second half of their career. Like, okay, you need a name. You want to give Virgil Ortiz a name at 147, a legitimate 147-pounder? Give him Collazo.
I agree.
You want to give Brooke, you want to bring Brooke back against a legitimate 147? Give him Collazo. You want to give Hooker a 147-pounder? Give him Collazo. You'll be confident that he beats him, and Collazo will show well. He'll be tough. He may go the distance, but he's going to lose. So I don't think he's done like he's trash. I just think he's done at the highest level.
Yeah, I largely agree with you. Thank you, Gary. Obviously, guys that have called in, you guys can come back in. I'm going to talk about the Lewis Ritson card.